Would you harm a complete stranger, just because someone in a lab coat told you to? You'd probably say no, but the science says, you're probably wrong. In 1961, the world was transfixed by the trial of a Nazi architect of the Holocaust. His defense? He was just a bureaucrat, following orders. This terrifying idea led one psychologist to ask a radical question. At Yale University, Stanley Milgram designed an experiment to test the limits of obedience. He wanted to know, is evil banal? And could it happen anywhere? He recruited ordinary men for a memory study. One person would be the teacher, the other, the learner. The teacher's job? Administer an electric shock for every wrong answer. The shock started small at 15 volts, but with each error the voltage increased. The machine went all the way up to a terrifying 450 volts. As the volts climbed, the learner's protests grew into agonizing screams, then at 330 volts, complete silence. When the teachers hesitated, the experimenter gave them simple, firm prods. No threats, no shouting, just the calm voice of authority. Before the experiment, Milgram asked psychiatrists to predict the outcome. They said only a tiny, psychopathic fringe, less than 1%, would go all the way. They were wrong. In the baseline study, 65% of participants, ordinary people, administered the final 450-volt shock. But they weren't monsters. They were in agony. They sweat, trembled, and argued with the experimenter. Their moral sense was active, but it was being overridden. The question was, why? The true genius of Milgram's work was in the variations. He discovered that obedience wasn't a personality trait. It was a product of the situation. When the teacher had to physically force the learner's hand onto the shock plate, obedience dropped to 30%. When the authority figure gave orders by phone, it fell to just 22%. But here's the most important finding. When Milgram added two actors who defied the experimenter, obedience plummeted to only 10%. The antidote to blind obedience wasn't just individual conscience, it was collective action. The presence of allies gave people the courage to resist. The experiment caused an ethical firestorm. The deception and extreme stress led to new rules to protect research participants, rules we still have today. Milgram's experiment is more than a historical curiosity. It's a warning. In our modern world, we are often separated from the consequences of our actions by a screen, a corporate policy, or an algorithm. The experiment teaches us that the real danger isn't the monster, it's the ordinary person who, caught in a powerful situation, simply follows orders. The question isn't just, what would you do? But, what kind of situations are we building for ourselves?